No, see, normally I've been kind of introing these videos with the theme song. Um, but the problem is that there is no theme song to this. Let me be clear about that. There is a theme to Honor Majesty's Secret Service, but there's no music. There's and I'm not gonna say where that ranks in my Bond themes, but it's on the lower end, to say the least. So, full disclosure, I've only seen bits and pieces of Honor Majesty's Secret Service when I was younger. So, with the Bond movies free on YouTube, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finally sit down and watch this movie. Maybe I've not been giving it its fair due. Maybe I've just not been judging it fairly. It took me 3 attempts to watch the entire movie because I'm like, I need a minute. Okay. You know what? I'll come back to this tomorrow. Okay. Finished it out. Oh, man. So, this was during the time where they're trying to transition out of Sean Connery. And, excuse me. And, now, we would later get Sean Connery back for one more official movie and then one unofficial movie. So they obviously they were going to recast the James Bond. And they chose George Lazenby. Not only that, they gave us a new Blofeld, Telly Savalas, TV's Kojak. And Bond gets married in this one. That's the famous thing. We all have all the time in the world, really. How should I start this off? I don't like this movie. This is probably one of the only James Bond films I legitimately didn't like. Not to say there isn't things I dislike about it. What's the best way to bring me to phrase this sense? I don't like the movie, but there are things of value in the movie. And right at the gate, let me address the whole George Lazenby thing. George Lazenby, for the longest time, has been my least favorite Bond from the bits I've seen of the movie. But now that I've fully watched the movie, I can say definitively, yeah, he's my least favorite Bond. It's not Lazenby's fault. It's really not Lazenby's fault, because when we talk more about this movie, there were problems with this movie early on, clearly, like the way this film was made. And Lazenby went on to actually have a very successful career, by the way. So, he actually voiced a character, Mr. Walker / King. I didn't know he did a voice in Batman Beyond. That's pretty cool. That's absurd. I gotta pick up Batman Beyond on DVD and stuff. I've seen it, like the complete series. Like, I need to get, because I really liked Batman Beyond. Not as much as Batman the Animated Series, but I really liked it. Back on topic. So Lazenby had, just because he didn't make it as Bond doesn't mean he did not have a really good career. But it's clear that the type of Bond they were going for, like, this is not Sean Connery's Bond per se. This is a different Bond. And they make note of it that it's supposed to be a different Bond, but it's the same James Bond. And right at the gate, when I saw, because there's 2 conflicting scenes with that. And I'm like, okay, make up your mind what you're trying to imply here. Because, you get that opening scene. The opening scene is very famous where, he saves Diana Riggs on the beach. And, he fights these guys off. And then he just goes, this never used to happen to the other, or I bet this never happened to the other fellow. Implying the move over from Sean Connery to him. But then later on, we're in his office. Yes, Bond has an office, by the way. And we're seeing all his stuff from his previous movies. We see, the knife from Dr. No that he got from Honey Rider. What were some of the other things? We can see something, I believe it was from either Goldfinger. I know we got one from Rush with Love. And Thunderball or Goldfinger. I can't remember which one it is. We don't get one from, You Only Live Twice or another one. But we get, 3 different lines. And I know there are 3 different lines from different Bond movies because they literally play the music from those movies over it as he's reminiscing. So it's like, oh, no. This is the same guy. This is the same guy. Unless they're implying, it's like, oh, no. It's like, oh, did my predecessor leave these? Like, no, your name is still James Bond. And we've established James Bond is that character's name. 007 is just an assigned number. anyone can be 007, hence with No Time to Die. There's a new 007, but James Bond is still James Bond. So that's the thing. It's his service number. That's all it is. It's like it's like if you're a manager. If you're a manager 006 versus 007, 008, you retire, you still keep your name, but someone else is that number. That's the way it is. So they're not. It's almost like they're not comfortable just saying, okay, this is the new James Bond. They really wouldn't get more comfortable with just saying, okay, this is Bond, until they got the Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. And in fact, looking at this movie now, I feel like they learned some lessons from this movie, and just being like, no, let's not tease the fact that there used to be another James Bond with Sean Connery. Let's just say that this is James Bond. Because otherwise that is actually kind of misleading and confusing in many ways. Apart from that, though, I don't know. There's something about Lazenby's performance that doesn't really work. And I'm not quite certain what it is. I think it's the way Bond is characterized a bit in this. Like, except for one other Bond movie, this Bond not only is getting laid, he's getting laid a lot. Like, he nails Diana Riggs twice. Not like a span of an hour. Maybe they made love multiple times. But he nails her in the beginning. He makes love to her, or at least implies makes love to her, in a barn later on. He's at this resort with women where, they're patients, but he ends up having sex with them. And, literally, one woman after another within the span of probably an hour. I'm like, dude, what is your freaking recharge time like? Because you're clearly a guy in your late 30s, early 40s. So it's like, I know Bond's supposed to be promiscuous with a libido, but my God. But after that, it's like, I don't see Bond, physically with him. Like, this Bond is the Bond that has that, the way Austin Powers dresses, that shirt with the crevasse, is that what it's called? He's actually got, even in his normal James Bond attire, he's got going on. I'm like, that's not a James Bond outfit, in my opinion. Now, this might be also coming from the fact that it was the late 60s when this film came out, 1969, only in the 70s. So maybe that was part of the appearance, but this is also a Bond who actually goes into disguise. Not just pretends to be someone else, like we see with Roger Moore's Bond does it. Timothy Dalton, Daniel Craig's Bond did it at least once or twice. Pierce Brosnan's Bond did that. No, this Bond literally wears a disguise, changes his voice, and pretends to be an officiator of royal heritage and stuff like that. And I'll admit, watching it, I'm like, is it wrong to say I find this character that he's pretending to be far more interesting than the character he actually is? The accent he's got on, it makes a lot more sense. He's wearing the kilt, which I'm like, why? I don't know about why the kilt's a thing, but there's that. And then there's Blofeld. Look, it's freaking Telly Savalas. I love me some Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? I'm like, yeah. Guy lived 1994. He lived a solid life. Died 72. Good for him. What was some of the last things he did? Wow. Or 1994. He lived 72 in 1994, and he saw that one release movie called Backfire before he died. Kojak, man, Kojak TV movies, the series, the Equalizer. He was it's Telly Savalas, man. And I'm watching this we'll talk about the whole disguise thing. But he does not work as Blofeld. When he finds out Bonnie's there, finds Bond and knocks him out and brings him to his lair, he's decorating a Christmas tree. Mr. Bond's then there's the damn bobsled chase they have. What? And Blofeld, to me, and I think a lot of people kind of brought this up, you shouldn't be able to figure out if he's American or not. He clearly is always has like an accent of some kind, be it British or whatever, Swiss, a accent that is hard to determine, I would say. Instead of, oh no, it's clear this guy's American. And I'm just watching, like, I love telling Savalas, so I'm just watching it like, I really wish you were a Bond villain that wasn't Blofeld. Why couldn't you have just played a different Bond villain played by Telly Savalas? I'm like, I would have loved to have seen that. And he could have worked better in this movie than Blofeld. I'm sorry, like, his Blofeld doesn't work, and it's not Telly Savalas' fault. It's like they weren't thinking when they did this movie, I think, because there's just so many things that either don't add up or don't work in this film. A lot of the action scenes are really weirdly edited. Like, they're sped up to be like hyper fast, and it does not work. It seems really rushed. This also makes use of a lot of green screen, and you can eat. Maybe back then it was different, but these days you can really see the green screen. It's not even funny how bad the green screen is in some scenes. And then him figuring out Bond. Like, hello, Mr. Bond. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Because he figures it out apparently through, the knowledge of what Bond missed in his, what he missed as his character in terms of knowledge and something else. When I'm looking at watching, it's like, wait, you met Bond. You know what he looks like. He has not changed a damn thing about himself except the glasses and the accent. And he came into your study without the glasses. This isn't Clark Kent Superman here. And even if it was, guess what? The Superman you met isn't pretending to be Clark Kent appearance-wise. Like, and then, going off the sidetrack real quick with Superman, even if the glasses are disguising a good disguise for him, how are people not figuring out when he has to take the glasses off? I have no idea. So, it's like, yeah, how you figured it out, it's like, oh, it's because of this, Mr. Bond, some glasses and this and this and this, and oh, by the way, you would have known that if you were really a notoriety. It's like, oh, how about this? He just looks like James Bond. Not that I say he looks like Sean Connery, no, because in this universe, you know what he looks like. So that doesn't add up. Like, Blofeld's plan also, while devious and could have worked in a different Bond film, I suppose, didn't really make a lot of sense. Like, okay, I'm going to hold the world ransom with this thing that could sterilize the entirety of a populace, the world even. All for amnesty. Okay, I guess, sure. Like, there are some dumb, and again, another list we can make at some point is, or do video, is Bond villain plans. Because, yes, some of the plans are pretty basic. We'll just hold the world ransom for money. Others are like, wait, what? This is more like one of those, wait, what? You're holding world ransom so you can get amnesty, so you can't be, arrested or anything like that. Or you should choose a different profession if you're going to do that. Now, look, for all the one other thing I'm going to address real quick is that if you're paying attention, this is the one Bond film where you'll get some legitimate nudity. Because there's a scene where Bond is basically making copies of things. And he's looking at a Playboy, he's looking at a centerfold. And he actually takes the centerfold with him. And I'm looking at this and I'm actually pausing the video. It's on YouTube. You can do it frame by frame. If you look for a few seconds, you will see the centerfold he's looking at. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Then I realized Bond is one of those characters. Yeah, he's a womanizer. Yeah, he likes women. Yeah, he looking to get laid. I never pictured him as someone who would be reading an adult magazine. Like, think about that for a second. Do you picture Bond as someone like that? I don't. Like, I just picture him, getting a woman and making love to her. Or, just, like doing the dirty deed. If you want to get a bit more vulgar with it, a bit more just rough. But yeah, that's kind of how I've always pictured Bond. I've never pictured him as someone just sitting there. Like, I never picture him sitting in his home. Those things like, well, I could go get laid. Well, let me jerk off to this Playboy. Like, I've never thought of him like that. So yeah, that's a weird thing. But for all the problems I have with this film, and I have problems with this film, definitely, it is probably among my least favorite Bonds. There are some things that I like. Diana Riggs as the Bond girl. Now, she shows up as Tracy early on, disappears, and then comes back later on. I will say this, as a Bond girl, she is likable. I will say this, her father, what was her, Draco, is it? Yeah, Draco. Gabriel Ferzetti is the name of her father. Draco was a crime boss. Her father's explanation, I'm like, wow, was she really that spoiled? Is the fact that she doesn't know how to live by her own means, so she's kind of just wayward and tried to kill herself a few times. Like, wow. Like, okay. Whatever. But as we grow to know her and as she grows to fall in love with Bond and bond with her, yeah, I do buy this relationship because she's not just a damsel in distress. She gets kidnapped by Blofeld and has to fight off a henchman, but she fights him off. Like, she breaks a bottle, tries to cut him with it, stabs him into a wall full of spikes, nails, and yeah. I do like the fact that she's so adamant about it. Like, no, we gotta stay for James. He knows what he needs to do. It's like, we gotta stay for James. He only has no qualms about knocking his daughter square in the jaw, just knocking her ass out. I do find that hilarious. And you know what? Gabriel Ferzetti as Draco. I like that character. That character's fun. He reminds me a lot of the gypsy leader in From Russia with Love, who was like my favorite. I mean, take Sean Connery out of there. Might have been my favorite character in film. He's kind of my favorite character in this film too. I really dig him. So he's definitely someone who's who really kind of has a presence, that voice, his mannerisms, that charisma. You gotta love it. Like it. Also, similar to what I said about You Only Live Twice, there are some beautiful aerial shots. Like, there's some beautiful shots of the mountains they're in. It's gorgeous to look at in some scenes. Absolutely. I mean, and the acting is fine. Like, Lazenby is trying. I can't fault him for trying. But some of the characteristics they've given him and, direction, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't work for me at all. And again, I think it's the way they're trying to reestablish this Bond to some degree. And I'll be honest too. If Connery had decided to do this one as well, it could have worked a bit better. It definitely could have, like any of the other Bonds, if I'm going to be frank, probably could have handled this script a bit better. And that's not a slight on Lazenby as an actor. That's just because I don't think he has the presence of a Bond, in my opinion. He doesn't really. I don't look at him and I think that's James Bond. Like, even Roger Moore, even though I don't love him, I look at him like especially in the earlier years. I'm like, no, that's James Bond. He holds himself like James Bond. Dalton, Pierce Brosnan. I mean, granted, those guys were. That was an older or later down the road characters, but I believe and I think honestly they would have been too young at that point to even play the character. But point being, this movie were made later on. I could have seen those guys doing this, and this does carry over into Live and Let Die. It does carry over, which we'll address that. The notes there, and the minor problem with the fact that it does carry over into Live and Let Die. So I don't know. For me, this is definitely not that great a film, but it's not a dumpster fire. There's good things in it. So I don't know. For me, Honor Majesty's Secret Service, it is what it is. It was an attempt that, in my opinion, didn't work. But again, I feel as though they learned their lesson from this film and were able to improve upon that going into the Roger Moore era to transition properly from Sean Connery to Roger Moore. Again, my opinion. But what do you think? I know plenty of people out there who actually really love this film. In fact, it's kind of their favorite James Bond film. And like I said, the ending is great, actually. Like, where he gets married, they're happy. It's like, we'll have 3 boys, 3 girls. Blofeld and his assistant come. We know what happens to Blofeld later on in the series. We don't know what happens to her. Shoot at Bond, he makes it out of there, but she gets a bullet in the head, and she just flops in. It's like, no, she's just rusty, you see. We have all the time in the world now. We have all the time in the world. He holds it, and you actually do hear him kind of crying. You hear him sobbing a little bit. Like, that's a good scene. Like, I mean, it's a bleak, sad ending, 100%, but it's a good scene. Like, it's acted well. It's a good scene. I can't knock it for that. Absolutely. Like, it does do some things right. I just don't think it's a good movie overall. But again, my opinion, is it one of your favorites? Is it one of your least favorites? Your favorite or your least, or the worst ever? Or is it just okay? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. And hit that bell if you want notifications. So that's it for today's videos. But I will be recording my... I think words here. I'll be recording my what if for today to be uploaded tomorrow. I could do the next 3, but I think I'll just save those for later tomorrow night. Because that's all I'll be doing that night. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.